Is that too rock and roll? Sometimes I think it's too rock and roll for our crowd. You know,
I don't know if it's too rock and roll as much as it is a little cheesy.
It's meant to be a little cheesy. It was inspired by
Cheesy,
you.
campy, cheesy music. I was a big fan of setting the tone with music back in my radio days. I used to do radio for a long time.
Yeah,
And you
me
used to
too.
be able to, set the tone, amp people up, bring them down a little bit with intros, extras, beds, loops, donuts, if you will. If you understand radio, you kind of know what I'm talking
I
about.
do. I like those things. I like
Yeah,
donuts.
I do too. I do too. But here, I've noticed that it doesn't really work. You know, like you can do intro music, you can do stingers, you can do all that other stuff, bumpers. But here, it's like, people are like, just get to the shit, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
just
just
show
get to
us
the
what you
shit.
got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just pull it out.
So maybe I shouldn't do so much work. I shouldn't do all these like fancy bumpers that I do and all these lower thirds and all that. It's just chill out a little bit.
Lower third. I think so.
Okay.
You get, the great part about working with you, and for everybody that's just joining us now, come on in. Water's fine. I say it all the time. Welcome, 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 welcome. For people like you, people like me, we tend to overthink things. And there's a mood in America and in Canada right now where they're like, hey, you know what? I don't give a shit about the bells and whistles, which is why radio's dead, right?
Mhm.
Like, the gimmicky radio bullshit, it's kind of all gone.
Yeah.
And authenticity is the name of the fucking game. People just want you to get into it. And if you watch some really successful podcasts or
Mhm.
lives, they just get right into it. There's no, sure, there's a little bit of waiting. Sure, yeah, come on in, like it's starting in 60 seconds, 90 seconds, or whatever that is. And then just kind of get right to it. There's no preamble. And I'm not a podcast guy. Like someone said to
Mhm.
me the other day, do you listen to podcasts? I used to run a podcast network, own one that had 139 podcasts in it.
Yeah, you're a big deal in the world of podcasting in Canada.
Not really. Like, I mean, yes, by numbers, but not like, it just, and I noticed something about the really successful podcast is that
Mhm.
everybody just got right to the shit. There was no like, okay, well, we've got all these different things and here's what you need to know
Less
just for
show, just more
now.
action.
Yeah. Yeah, just get right to it. Right? Like and I don't mean like right to the content. I mean like right to the entertainment, right to a conversation. Don't bore me with like what's coming up next week and all the different shit. Like if you watch this podcast, if you watch this Substack Live, FiveStack with Zev and I every day at 3 o'clock, you know that we have a little preamble. We get right into it. We don't inundate you with like, hey, go do this. Don't forget this is tomorrow. We don't do these long pauses. And there's, a world where that works, I guess. But it doesn't really work with authentic viewers and readers. Like they
Yeah.
just kind of want to get into it and want to know what you're all about and then get into the content that they want. Everybody here is saying the same thing. And that's what we're all about. So, in terms of the music, lovely, don't think it matters. But
Okay. Okay, no, I
is it
won't do it
too rock and
anymore.
roll? I don't know.
I'm okay with
Great
not
question. You're
doing it.
asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm okay with not the music. And the rock and roll maybe is a little much because when it auto plays, it becomes a little annoying for people. It jars
Yeah.
them. It's like, oh my god, what happened? We don't want that. We want people to be chill.
Well, plus we're under the like the auspices of royalty free music, right? Like it's not
Yeah,
like we can go and grab System of a Down or any other catchy song, use that for an intro because you're gonna have to pay through the ass for it.
yeah.
So limited options, but you do a great job, dude. I love the newspaper thing. I love the logo. We might want to get a new one at some point in time. We got thousands of people literally tens of thousands of people that watch this on a weekly basis. So
It's like
there's always
100,000
room.
people. It's even more than 10. It's like it's a lot of people watch us. Yeah, I don't know.
100,000
What are you
people.
guys thinking? What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
I know what they're doing. They love us like we love them. Welcome to the Five Stack, everybody. That is Zev Shalev, narrative.org. My name is Dean Blundell, deanblundell.substack.com. Lots to get to today. And because I'm a man of my word, we need to get to it. Zev, where are we starting this
We're
afternoon?
starting with an incredible story. The federal government shutdown has now canceled a second consecutive monthly jobs report, creating the longest data blackout on record and leaving economists, sorry, flying blind on the state of America's labor market. Private data suggests the job market is treading water in a low hire, low fire limbo. But without official Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers since August, nobody really knows if we're standing on a solid ground or the edge of a cliff. Major corporations, including Amazon, UPS, and IBM, have announced more than 150,000 job cuts in October alone, nearly triple the same month last year, while unemployment applications remain relatively stable. So we don't know where the market is. It's frightening because, of course, we know that there are a lot of federal workers being furloughed right now. The economy is, we just don't know. We don't know if it's strong. We don't know if it's poor. We don't know what's going on.
Well, there's enough information that isn't co-signed by this regime that we kind of do know. I'll tell you what that number is through the first 10 months, 9.5, 10 months of Trump's second term. His regime has shed the government, the country, 1.123 million jobs.
Are you serious?
1.123 million private and public jobs. This is the worst jobs report, and I need everybody to pay attention to me. This is the worst jobs report in this period of time since the Great fucking Depression. This is the second worst. Sorry, this is the worst jobs report by a long shot since 2008. This is the worst job. This is a worse jobs report than the COVID jobs report. And not only that, there is no sign that it's going to slow down. You watched manufacturing jobs, I think 300,000 disappear in this last 10 months. You watched delivery jobs, labor jobs, they disappeared at the rate of about 100,000 jobs. And then you've got the private market. And then you've got furloughed workers because of the shutdown, who Trump is willingly, admittedly, only targeting Democrats, people who voted Democrat, who actually worked for the government. The United States is not in trouble. The United States is going into a very deep depression and already is in certain sectors. And if you're not paying attention, if you're looking at jobs reports that you're getting from the Trump regime, first of all, you're not getting them. Second of all you're getting is spin. And I want to point to a couple of different things. Now, keep that 1.123 million in mind. 10 months, more than last year combined, more than the year before that combined. This is in 10 months and approaching a 25-year high just in terms of the timing of the amount of jobs that have been lost. So let's move on to the next part of this equation, which is fascinating to me. Donald Trump continually talks about how the stock market is doing well, and it's not doing poorly in the United States. But let me explain why. 80% since Trump has come into office, 80% of all the growth in the stock market belongs to 10 companies. Those 10 companies are all tech or AI related companies.
Wow.
NVIDIA, Meta, ChatGPT. Those 10 companies are keeping the stock market in a place where the rest of the country isn't. If there is an AI bubble bust, like the .com bust, you and I remember that well, right?
Yeah, I was
do the people at pets.com. You remember that well.
Yeah.
If there is an AI bubble bust, the United States of America, because of the jobs report, the state of the economy, and the fact that all of their economic eggs are in 10 fucking baskets. Go and listen to Scott Galloway, Professor Galloway. Go and read his new book. Listen to a couple of his latest with Kara Swisher. And he reiterates the same thing. And I listened to an incredible podcast on the AI bubble yesterday, and I didn't quite understand what the AI bubble was. I knew what the .com bubble was. But when I finally understood that there are 10 companies in the United States that Trump has deeply embedded himself with for this very purpose, which is to make you as Americans think that the stock market's great, everything's fine, have driven 80% of the stock market's growth, with millions of companies feeding into the stock market, the SEC, all of it. 10 companies, and they're all affiliated with Trump. And if one of those companies, and I mean one, has a bad fucking quarter, the house of cards collapses, and it's over. It's over.
That's just from the stock market perspective. There's also what's going on in the real estate market, where you've got buyers and sellers at their biggest gap ever, which means people really aren't putting up their properties for sale because they don't believe what the market is really telling them. What the market is really telling them is that it's worth much less than it was before. And that's because the affordability of housing has gone down. So there's a bit of a stagnation happening in that market. But the last time we saw this was 2008, when we had that mortgage crisis. So, and that led to the Great Recession, which, not quite as bad as the Great Depression, but had very similar things. Now, imagine those two things coinciding. You've got the stock market correcting itself perhaps because of this AI bubble at the same time as you got the real estate market correcting itself because of the real estate bubble. Boy, those two things combined, plus the jobs market collapsing, that is a terrible scenario for the American economy. And of course, the US dollar continues to be under pressure because most governments around the world are not using the US dollar now exclusively because they just can't trust it. That is not
Yeah.
a good scenario under any circumstances.
No, these are what we call in the industry bad signs,
Mhm.
red flags. You can kind of lean into, the idea that Donald Trump has rugged all of America by forcing the richest people in the world to, pay fealty to him to prop up the stock market, which is a red herring. The stock market, the stock market's in trouble,
It's being held
if
by
not for 10
cryptocurrency.
companies.
It's cryptocurrency firms that are now allowed to invest in in equity traded funds. These shouldn't be the case. They shouldn't be allowed to do that, but they are. So they're taking all
Mhm.
their dirty money from crypto and they're pouring it into the stock market, which is artificially inflating the market, and it's not really where it is. It's people think it's higher than it is.
You
Um,
got it.
it's a real problem. And the other part of the AI bubble, maybe you can explain this to me, is the data centers. This data centers issue is a big deal, right? I mean, the data centers are apparently sucking up a lot of the power for communities. If you have a data center in your neighborhood, it's pushing up your hydro bill, your power bills. That is, that shouldn't happen. These companies should be figuring out their own energy supplies. They should be figuring out at least how to compensate for their use, but they're not. Instead, the consumer is not only picking up the tariffs and all this other crap that they're putting down the line for them, they're also picking up the price of AI companies' data centers.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that is just an unfathomable thing the government is
Well,
doing with
Well,
the
that was part
oligarchs.
of the agreement, right?
Yeah.
And listen, there's a deeper understanding here when it comes to AI, when it comes to crypto, when it comes to crypto farming, Bitcoin mining, when it comes to quantum computing and the massive amounts of energy that it takes. And this is going to include a couple of different descriptions when it comes to your energy bill, and then when it comes to what Trump wants to do with Canada and Greenland. So just kind of bear with me right now. About 3 years ago, the former CEO of YouTube goes on a YouTube channel and he's like, hey, listen, quantum computing is coming. AI is coming. As we all know, this was kind of the birth about 3-4 years
Mhm.
ago of AI. And it is going to require the kind of energy that the United States cannot not only produce, but sustain.
Mhm.
And data centers and how hot they are, how much energy they take, crypto mining, Bitcoin mining, knowing that the Trump regime wanted, the United States to be the home of Bitcoin, the home of crypto, because they're a criminal fucking enterprise like Donald
Mhm.
Trump and the rest of his family. They looked at countries that had the ability to generate this kind of energy, this natural energy, whether it be through hydro, whether it be through a series of other energy producing natural gas, oil and gas, but generally speaking, hydro.
Mhm.
And what is the richest country in the world when it comes to the raw materials that it's going to take, whether it be lithium, whether it be hydro, whether it be natural gas, whatever it is? It's Canada. And so the quiet part said out loud, which I think everybody needs to kind of understand, is that this AI bubble is largely predicated on the idea that the United States of America is going to be the home of AI, the freest place in the world, the home of crypto, all those other things. But it takes such enormous amounts of energy that not only can they not produce it, if they can, magically, they're going to pass all of those costs, which is legislated in all of their policies around AI, to be passed on to taxpayers and people that are just trying to fucking get by, trying to light their homes, trying to, heat their homes, trying to just enjoy the energy that they have, enjoy the fact that they can come in the house, turn on the lights, and turn on their stove. Well, that's going to quadruple over the next 5 to 10 years,
Yeah.
if
Wow.
indeed these
Wow. Wow. Wow.
policies stay in place. So the importance of invading Canada, the importance of annexing Canada or invading or annexing Greenland isn't just in, well, it's a territorial right, it's manifest destiny, it's something that Donald Trump wants to do because he and Xi and Putin have this master plan to carve up the world into these three multipolar exhibits where, three different people, three different countries get to control the destiny of certain hemispheres and continents. This is all about energy for AI. This is all about controlling information. It all comes back around in this really cute little horseshoe where you can literally look at what they're doing and go, okay, well, if AI is going to be what it is, and if quantum computing is what it is, and if Bitcoin is what it is, you can absolutely set your clock to the idea that they don't give a shit about the countries they want to annex or invade or tariff, because what they're doing is they're setting it up to go, hey, listen, we can't have we don't have the ability to do what we want to do. We can't see this vision. We need to own or mandate the energy that comes out of those countries so that this country can be the heartbeat of the things that we're talking about.
Wow. What you're saying is so significant because, of course, Canada's other significance is it's got all these rare earth minerals that are so important to the production of a lot of these things that, you know, you need them for batteries, for electric cars, you need them for just power, a whole lot
Sure.
of the new technology. So, you keep talking about Canada, how Canada seems to be the last stand of democracy and liberalism, but it also looks like it's going to be a real target for this economic warfare that's currently happening against Canada, which explains all the tariffs and the weirdness, but also real warfare that is going to be happening against Canada. You have a great story at deanblundell.substack.com today about this very thing, about how Mark Carney is stepping up his game in order to protect the North.
Yeah, big budget passed yesterday, first reading in the House. And again, there are a couple of different narratives you can drive out of this. Mark Carney effectively doubled Canada's budget and Canada's deficit from 42 million to 78 million. Now, why did he do that? The reason why he did that is because he told us that that's exactly what needs to happen if we want to invest in infrastructure, protect our sectoral industries being affected by the loser in the United States known as Donald J. Trump, and to rebuild our military and to build an energy corridor. I've talked about it several times on this podcast, specifically on Substack Live. It's called the Build Canada program, where we're going to ram a corridor across northern Canada from coast to coast. It's a digital corridor, it's a natural resources corridor, and it's also a rare earths corridor, so that we can pull the things out of the ground. 80% of Canada is largely unexplored when it comes to rare earth minerals, energy, et cetera, softwood, aluminum, everything that Canada is to what it needs to create. And so these partnerships that we've done with the EU over the past, I would say 6 to 12 months, 6 to 9 months, now that Carney's involved, have been that important. It's protecting those industries, giving those rights up to ourselves so that we can promise allied countries, not some asshole in the United States, that yes, we got your back. We can do the rare earth stuff. We can do the energy stuff. We can do anything you want. We can do LNG, liquid natural gas, for all of those people who are like, I keep hearing LNG. What is that? It's liquid natural gas. We can do all that and more. And so we're building Churchill, which is Churchill, Manitoba. It's one of the most northernmost towns. Derelict port. We're putting billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Interesting.
20,000 jobs that are going to be built immediately all the way across Canada. Another 100,000 jobs slated, manufacturing jobs, because we're also going to start building drones and using that rare earth material to share, and energy to share with our allied partners. Well, who isn't an allied partner right now? Who's missing out on that? And it goes back to something that's really fascinating to me, because I find this interesting, is that, do you remember when Doug Ford put out the Canada ad that pissed Donald Trump off so much he ended trade negotiations? A week before that, we were on the doorstep of a deal, and the sticking point of that deal, that trade deal with the United States and Canada, rare earth and energy. We said we're going to keep the rare earth materials out of this for now, and we're just going to do a sectoral deal. It's not going to be a broad deal.
Right.
Within a week, America found a way to blame their lack of interest on a deal with Canada on something completely different, because Canada said, no, you can't have our lithium, you can't have our nickel.
So the real reason that broke down was because of this rare earth minerals deal that Canada did not want to do and Trump really wanted, so he found an excuse?
You got it.
Wow. Well, that's not surprising, but there you go. That's Donald Trump for you, and that's why Canada is so important in this next era that we're entering. The number 4 story on the countdown today, 1 month into Barry Weiss's tenure as CBS News editor-in-chief, the Storied Network is experiencing a cultural collision of sorts between Walter Cronkite-era journalism and what they're calling free press-style contrarianism. Complete with layoffs of 100 staffers so far, she's dismantled the climate coverage team and the cancellation of shows including CBS Evening News Plus. Weiss, who left the New York Times complaining that she was constantly bullied over her opinions, has been pitching story ideas like Dan Brown commenting on the Louvre heist, which is not bad. I think that's quite a good idea, and profiling Japan's prime minister based on heavy metal playlists. Apparently, the Japanese prime minister likes heavy metal. Who knew? But
yeah,
but this is the kind of stuff she's asking people to do at the Free Press. This doesn't sound to me like a lot of Zionist propaganda, which we were all fearing, but it is bizarre that she's trying to do this to this storied institution. And more importantly, she's firing a lot of very, very good people.
Do you know anything about Barry Weiss?
I know a little bit about her. I haven't met her, but I know a little bit about her. Her history is unique. It's she came out of sort of the religious part of New York. I think she's from New York, and it's as far as I know, she's part of that sort of Chabad movement, that kind of ideology of the Jewish religion. So she's had the blessing of the rabbis, as far as I know. If that means a lot in New York, by the way, you need the blessing of the rabbis. And it feels to me like she's come up against the institutions of mainstream media a lot. Like she might have been bullied, she claims, at the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal that she worked at, but she wasn't bullied. She just was out of the mainstream. She was proposing things that didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Now, some people say she helped with this whole woke awakening and this whole awareness of the woke movement, of the so-called woke movement. But it just strikes me as nonsense. She's blatantly propagandist for Israel and for Israeli interests, and it's very hard to see how she's going to be very good at a TV network the size of CBS after running just a editorial page and then also running this Substack that she's done.
Do you know anything about Larry Ellison?
I see where you're going. I see what you're building here. Well, Larry Ellison is also
the new owner of CBS. Yes,
it's not his son. He's actually the owner, David Ellison. But
Larry's the owner, dude, we can do this all day.
Yeah. Larry's the
owner. He's like, I'll buy it, David. You run it.
So the thing about Larry Ellison is he's also very close to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. He's got a huge background in supporting Israeli interests, and read that for what it might be. It's also interesting that he also controls Oracle. Oracle controls all the streaming for the world, all the video streaming, maybe even this streaming that you're seeing right now is controlled by Oracle. So imagine being the power player of having all the streaming video, which is now so important because it really is television these days, going through your company. And at the same time, you also own the makers of that video, like CBS and CNN and Warner Brothers, which they're now trying to pursue. Imagine if you owned all of that and you could control everyone's news messaging and the way they delivered it. Now you'd be sitting in the driver's seat in terms of public opinion. And that's what they're building.
Do you know who from Oracle also purchased a portion of TikTok?
Well, Larry Ellison is also going to be an owner of TikTok. Why? Because they're providing the streaming for TikTok and all the streaming capability for TikTok. It really should never be like this. Any normal monopoly watchdog would tell you that this is an antitrust thing waiting to happen. There's no ways the producers of this content and the deliverers of this content should be the same people. It just makes no sense. It's terrible for competition. It is terrible for free speech in America. And one day, this is going to be broken apart again. But right now, that's what they're trying to build.
There you go. You just answered your own question.
I did. Thank you for dragging it out of me like a therapist.
Oh no, it's what I do. Listen, folks, we're in this age of consolidation for cultural interest. We're not in an age of consolidation for the betterment of the American people, or the age of consolidation for the betterment of free-flowing, free speech and information. We are in the age of consolidation so that very few specific interests can control the information you get, whether it's on your phone, on your television, or on your computer. It doesn't matter, or in your newspaper. Buying a brand like CBS, buying a brand like TikTok, this is not like, how do we grow and increase our ROI for a guy like Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison's one of the richest people in the fucking world. This is about king making. This is about territory change. This is about control. And if Larry Ellison looks at a Substack writer like Barry Weiss, who's a great writer, she's a good writer, who is immeasurably compromised by her cultural and religious interests, as is Larry Ellison. And I am not talking about where they're from. I'm not taking a position on anything Abrahamic, if you will. I'm talking about the very purposes and the mechanisms involved with getting the same people who believe the same things with a fervor that they would die for, being in control of everything you see, everything you watch, everything you read when it comes to being informed. That is a fucking problem.
We don't
It's
even
a
have to
problem.
guess it. Sorry, go ahead. I
No,
didn't interrupt you.
no, no. It's a problem in America. It's a problem in Canada. It's why Substack has experienced incredible growth. It's why we've got literally hundreds and hundreds, hundreds of thousands of people, 500,000, maybe more every month that sit here with us and go, what the fuck is going on? This is what's going on. This is the importance of this platform. This is the importance of subscribing, sharing, hitting that little square with the arrow on it, hammering those hearts as much as you can. Because on the surface, we're headline people, right? We look at a headline, we go, oh, CBS got bigger, and Larry Ellison's got a lot of money, and Barry Weiss, I've heard her name, maybe she'll be great. But no one ever looks under the covers, and under the covers is nothing but narrative framing, owning your mind, changing your reality, and treating your life like a fucking sim. That is the point.
And you may not want to get into who the countries are that are doing this, but I can. I can tell you that Benjamin Netanyahu, was in New York recently and told a bunch of influencers, right-wing supporters of his interests, that in fact what they were going to do was acquire TikTok for precisely this reason, and that was the biggest deal that's going on right now. And what they're doing with Ellison and CBS and Ellison and CNN is all about them consolidating the media so they can get their message out. That's what they're doing. They're not even afraid to say it out loud. They're out there doing it all the time, and that is the scary part because if they're willing to do it, if to say it out loud, they don't think there are any repercussions coming.
Do you ever hear this term, to each their own?
Yeah, of course.
It's a great term. I don't know who came up with it. I didn't bother looking for the origin story of the actual comment. That's the last thing they want. That's the last thing Trump wants. That's the last thing MAGA wants. It's the last thing Larry Ellison wants. It's the last thing Barry Weiss wants. That's the last thing the Catholic Church wants. That's the last thing evangelical Christians and or fucking hardcore Muslims want. It's the last thing they want. They want to they want to castigate you for not being them, agreeing with them. And what is the fastest way for you to agree with them and for them to rug you because they know they can't get your opinion? They know they can't change your mind because you're a critical thinker. It's to change the reality within which you live. And to change the reality within which you live and to do away with the whole idea of to each their own, which I am like that is central to my nervous system.
You need to have that. You need plurality. You need diversity of opinion. You can't have a single
They don't want
voice.
that.
They don't
want
it.
that.
I know, but
no.
That leads to war and destruction and the society that we live in. If we don't have that diversity, ultimately goes backwards. We don't achieve anything. We just either stagnate where we are.
You become polarized. You become
Yeah.
radicalized. You sit in your own fucking toxic soup. You reinforce your views. You don't challenge your perspective. You don't challenge your ideology. You don't do any of those things. And that's really the point. And for so many people that, again, are headline people, and I would encourage you to dig in. When you see a merger with Larry Ellison, Barry Weiss gets elevated with zero fucking qualifications other than being firmly attached to the machine, you have to ask those questions.
You have
and
to.
Not enough people do.
And what it means for the job markets, I mean, you think about them controlling who gets to be a journalist, as we're seeing in the Pentagon right now. They're controlling who gets to access the government, and it's all the same people, which brings us to the Pentagon, to the number 3 story. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired or sidelined at least 24 generals and admirals in the last 9 months. It's a purge without precedent in recent decades that's creating an atmosphere of anxiety and mistrust throughout the military's top brass. Some officers were targeted for previously working with General Mark Milley, whom Trump loathes. Others fell after being attacked by right-wing influencers, or supporting diversity programs years ago. Still others were removed for offering candid military assessments. And there's one case, Major General James Patrick Work, who's one of the Army's most combat-experienced officers, who led the victory over ISIS in Mosul. He's, really held a highly regard by Trump, including in his first term where he did this, remains in a professional limbo. He is not being promoted simply because he once worked for General Milley. This is a disgusting state of affairs where you've got all these heroes in the American military that are being sidelined and not promoted just because they don't follow a certain political ideology. This seems to be what Pete Hegseth is doing at the Pentagon. It's either you're with us or you're not.
Yeah. Listen, I've got some breaking news for people. Pete Hegseth is not going to make it to Christmas.
I hope
That's a
you're right.
fact.
I hope you're
Had a
right.
conversation with a couple of people today that are involved in those conversations or know people in those conversations. Pete Hegseth is so hated by the military establishment, more so than Donald Trump. Because not only has he not done the job, he was a fucking abysmal failure. Not only is he not worthy of being in the same room as every single person that he's relieved of their duties, every single person that's left in the room fucking knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And a conversation that I had today with somebody, and they'll remain nameless, said to me today, hey, listen, not only is the flop sweat with MAGA, which we'll get to, at a fever pitch, there's a reason that Pete Hegseth has 500 people in a security detail. There aren't just civilians that hate the man. There are men and women in uniform
Mm-hmm.
who would move mountains to make sure that he's not in that position. And there's a reason why Donald Trump, and this was really interesting. This person said to me, there's a reason why Donald Trump in that 60 Minutes interview said they're not going to go to war with Venezuela. And I said, why is that? And he goes, because they can't get buy-in.
Yeah, they can't get the military to agree.
They can't get the military to agree. Doesn't matter how many people they fucking purge, a dozen over the past 9 months, high-ranking military officials, Coast Guard admirals, Navy admirals, who have been either fired or pushed out for not agreeing to kill up to now 70 people in Caribbean boats just for being in boats in the Caribbean for no fucking reason.
No reason at all.
Judicial killings. They're deathly afraid. So many people are deathly afraid. And preserve your records if you're in the U.S. military and you're watching this and you're involved in any of this stuff. Get a lawyer. They're deathly afraid of what happened a couple of days ago, which is this blue wave, which is this awakening, which is that America seems to be kind of slowly starting to understand what's at stake and what they have to do. That awakening has been a full-on 12-alarm blaze in the United States military for the past 10 fucking months.
Yeah.
So Pete Hegseth and the damage he's done quietly, now being brought to the forefront publicly, is going to further move the United States military away from the Trump regime and Pete Hegseth, which is why Pete Hegseth lives in a green zone, in a fucking house, behind barbed wire, because he knows he's not going to last. He knows he's playing a part. He knows he's a bit actor for Donald Trump. And he knows he's woefully fucking equipped to do the fucking job of being the Department of Defense, being the Secretary of the Department of Defense. And so what happens now? Anybody's guess. But my understanding is that Mr. Hegseth is not going to make it to Christmas, and very fortunate to still be here, because the anger in the United States military, the embarrassment of people who have put their lives on the line for 20, 30, 40 years is so nuclear that they're going to either end run him or end run Donald Trump at some point.
The question is, who do they replace him with? I mean, if they come up with a capable Department of Defense or Department of War leader, does that change the scenario to make it even worse? Because right now, everyone knows that Hegseth is incompetent. It's kind of useful to have an incompetent guy there.
Trump's not going to put a guy in there that is competent.
Well,
that's not what he does.
They will. They'll try find one. They'll try find someone who's
no, they won't, dude. They fucking put Pete Hegseth in charge of the Department of Defense out of the gate. They've got Tulsi Gabbard as the DNI. They got fucking an ambulance chaser and Pam Bondi in charge of the DOJ. They have a fucking right-wing podcaster in charge of the FBI. You think he's going to go look for somebody that's qualified to do that job at this point? And by the way, anybody qualified to do that job ain't doing the job for fucking him.
That's the thing, is can they find anyone to actually do this job, because it's such a nightmare operation. It's interesting as well that Hegseth fired so many of the press corps there at the Pentagon, not fire them, stop giving them credentials, replace them with people like Laura Loomer. That's going to turn out to be a very expensive move for the defense secretary, because he is going to get completely destroyed by the media. This article to this morning from the New York Times tells you exactly where the New York Times is on the military and where the New York Times is on Hexeth, and it's not in a very good place. Now, all the media against you like that, that is not going to be very good.
Well, he's a fucking idiot.
He's an idiot. For someone who works in the media, don't remove all the media. That's a bad place to go. Number two, the Republican insiders are reportedly being told behind closed doors that unreleased Epstein files could be much, much worse for Trump than previously known. This is a story from Dean Blundell.substack.com. Why don't you tell us what's going on inside the GOP ranks?
Did you see this story today?
It's a good story. Everyone should check it out.
It gives me life. It gives me life for so many victims. Most importantly, there are things that I get excited for. I get excited for a Blue Jays win. I get excited for a decent steak and some garlic toast and some salted and garlic buttered broccoli. I do. I really
broccoli.
do. Yeah.
You get excited for broccoli.
I get excited for steamed broccoli.
Oh,
I know. I'm a broccoli guy. Who'd have thought it?
That's totally new for me. Well done.
I get really excited when I read a story from a verifiable source and I check that source and they go, yeah, it's true. When it has to do with the DOJ giving Trump a briefing last week saying, sir, it's worse than we originally told you. We kind of had kid gloves out when we told you that you were in the Epstein files, but that picture of you with topless teen girls exists with that stain on your pants.
Yeah, Michael Wolff has seen those.
And not just that, several other pictures of you. Not just that, financial disclosures that include you. There are several different aspects to this shutdown that you can just throw away at this point. Dems, this, that, incompetent, sure. This has every earmark, everything to do, this shutdown, with the fact that Donald Trump was told recently, more than once, that not only is he a major bit player, he is a major star in the Epstein files, along with Jess Staley, Leon Black, earmuffs if you like Bill Gates.
I know all these people's names. I've covered them all. I mean, this is exactly what I've been talking about for 6 years now. This is not just a story about human trafficking and about underage girls. This is a story about a network of very powerful people doing a lot of very bad things to the economy and to the politicians and to our political discourse in America. And of course, Donald Trump knows this. He was there. He lived through it all. He's benefited from it all. He's just been hoping that he can keep it quashed all this time. He's been involved in the biggest cover-up in U.S. history in order to keep the truth about him from being told. And that is really what's going on, is this disclosure of a massive cover-up. Because this is unbelievable. I mean, this makes Watergate seem like nothing.
Well, but this is why you're seeing people like Marjorie Taylor Greene seem sane. This is the same reason why you're seeing other people just kind of abstain or walk away from Donald Trump. This is why you see so much panic. Steve Bannon stepping up to the stump. We'll get to that video in just a second. MAGA Mike Johnson stepping up to the stump. We'll get to that video in just a second. Panicking, full fucking flop sweat. It's not just about the government shutdown and how unpopular it is. It's not just about the blue wave. It has more to do with the Epstein files. Let me kind of tell you what set this whole thing off. New reporting summarized by the New Republic, Yahoo. We did a thing on it as well. GOP insiders said, quote, they've been warned that unreleased tranche of Epstein-related material is, quote, much, much worse for Trump than what's already public. Wow. This is reporting, not a document dump. So please treat this like a very we don't lie to you. I've seen the reporting. Everybody understands that it's here. Eric Swalwell, about a month ago, predicted this. We put out a post about it. There's going to be a jailbreak. GOP members are going to run to the other side of the aisle going, yeah, we'll be the 218th through 318th signature. Get that discharge petition out. Yeah, we don't want to be known as a pedophile protector, because that's what they're running. Hakeem Jeffries this last week, I thought it was fucking stunning. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, so
he's like, Donald Trump is running a pedophile protection racket. And I'm like, whoa, someone knows some shit. Then this story came out. Trump's name is not just in the files, but according to reputable outlets, Pam Bondi told Trump in May that his name appears in DOJ-held Epstein materials, along with many other prominent factors. White House publicly blasted the reporting as fake news. Since then, 33,000 documents and another 200,000 documents apparently are going to come out that not only dictate that Trump was a major player in the pedophile Epstein sex trafficking cover-up, is that he was helping facilitate this stuff. And not just him, but several other people. You and I have just talked about some of those names, and some of those names that you're going to see might not be, beneficial to Democrats' hopes and dreams. And that's okay, because all I give a shit about, and all the survivors give a shit about, and all the Americans give a shit about, all MAGA gives a shit about is, tell us who hurt these kids that turned into broken women. Tell us who hurt these kids who destroyed families, because that deserves accountability. And I read something today and I thought, oh, fuck, I can't believe I haven't thought of that, but I can because I'm kind of slow.
No.
There are thousands of victims, hundreds of perpetrators. There is one British woman in jail. One.
Absolutely.
And if your name is in those files, get and listen, there are a lot of people that know that their names are in those files that haven't said anything. Jess Staley hasn't said a fucking word. Leon Black hasn't said a word. Donald Trump desperately trying to get away from it. They still have not sworn in Adelita Grijalva from Arizona, who now is suing the government. I don't know if you saw her op-ed in the New York Times today.
I saw that.
Absolutely fucking brilliant. They're running from something that they cannot run from anymore. And it's coming out, and they've been told by Trump's own DOJ, prepare for fucking Armageddon. And that explains to me everything we've seen over the past couple of months.
I mean, that's 100% correct, and it's in the greatest heist, which I'm doing the second book of now. We explore exactly how these people like Jess Staley, Mary Erdos, even Jamie Dimon were all involved in Epstein's financial crimes. And the financial crimes were serious to the point that they collapsed the 2008 market, that he was the trigger that collapsed the 2008 the Bear Stearns mortgage trust markets. And it gets a little complicated, but he was the person who triggered it. And Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan were the beneficiaries of that after they found out he was convicted of those sex crimes. So they did this after the fact. They got closer to him after the fact. They opened bank accounts for him. They financed his entire organization for years afterwards. And then when they finally fired him as a client in 2013, they didn't do anything with that information, which they were supposed to. They were supposed to put that in the suspicious activity reports and filed it with the Treasury, but they didn't. They waited till 2019, until after his death, to do that. Why? Because he was a conduit to a lot of very powerful and rich people in America. He was introducing a lot of very big clients to JP Morgan, and also introducing them to the kinds of power brokers they would never get in touch with, like Ehud Barak. So you add the former prime minister and the defense minister of Israel to the mix, and you realize that this is an intelligence operation run out of a foreign government. And all these people who thought that maybe they were just lining their pockets, or maybe they were just sleeping with this girl or that girl, no, they were participating in an espionage operation against America run by the Russians and the Israelis. That's what was happening.
One of the things that's been, I'm so glad I get to do this with you. You've got such a deep understanding of it. You've educated me and millions of others. But the Ehud Barak stuff isn't just disconcerting, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for the Israeli people. It's a nightmare for everybody involved in this. Is that the allegation? And I've read Virginia Giuffre's book. It's called Nobody's Girl. Everybody should go and read it. The allegation she loosely, you don't need to be a fucking genius, makes against the well-known prime minister thought to be Ehud Barak, according to every statement we have, according to pictures of him, dozens of pictures of him, flight logs, emails, it's him, that the worst abuse she suffered, the worst sexual abuse she suffered, was at the hands of a well-known prime minister. And he has threatened to sue. He's threatened everybody. He's done nothing. And you're seeing this uprising from Netanyahu, anybody associated with Ehud Barak, in this nuclear attempt to threaten people to stop talking about this, right? That involvement, all of the involvement is grotesque, disgusting, horrendous, evil, all the things that you want to call pedophilia, and all of them are true. If the Israeli government, and if this is true, Israel already beleaguered by, the genocidal actions of their prime minister, who misrepresents the Israeli people in as much as Trump misrepresents the American people. There is going to be a backlash against Jewish people worldwide if this stuff bears out, that pales in comparison to what we're seeing today, which is also a fucking tragedy. Also a tragedy. Today I watched a video of these fucking losers that are Hamas adjacent, hiding under the Free Palestine movement, are violent assholes who just hate Jewish people. Go to this speech at a Jewish center. Its school actually was at Toronto University, here in Toronto. Threatened to hang and murder all the Jews that were in the university room having this lecture. Some IDF agents were there talking about Israel. And listen, conversations are conversations. I think free speech is free speech. And I try to never take anybody's, inventory. But I can say this. I watched this video where these Jewish men and women are barricaded. This is today in Toronto, Canada. Barricading themselves in this room to protect themselves from these people who just want to kill Jews. Why do they want to do it? Because of shit like this. Because of what Netanyahu is doing.
Except this is an interesting thing because it's happening at the same time as the Nazi movement is actually building up in the United States, and it's done under the auspices of the President of the United States and under the GOP. They're building up a Nazi movement, which is fascinating because they're also backed by the same people who backed Benjamin Netanyahu. So why does Donald Trump have an interest in going against Jewish people, or going against Jewish Americans? And the answer is simply this: that there are right-wing Israelis and there are left-wing Israelis, and the vast majority of or liberal-minded Israelis, of Jews in America are liberal-minded or at least moderate-minded. They're sort of middle path, a little bit to the left. In Israel, there is a small minority, not so small anymore because they've captured the government, of very extremist right-wing Jews.
MAGA.
Same, like MAGA. Here in the United States, we also have a tiny, tiny majority, 10%, maybe 20%, that are very, very religious, ultra-extremist MAGA-type Jews. The vast majority of Jews are opposed to the same things that Trump and Netanyahu are trying to do with the world. So it's a very sneaky game. What Netanyahu is really doing is setting up the liberal Jews of America as targets for this Nazi movement that he is also participating in building up. And that is a very, very cynical state of affairs when you've got the Prime Minister of Israel operating like a conduit to an anti-Semitic uprising in North America.
Well, and listen, Netanyahu has parroted the same stupid, left-wing lunatic extremist talking points Donald Trump has parroted for years, as has Ben Giver, as has everybody in his Likud party, it's just, these are all, and I was shocked last week. I don't watch a lot of network news anymore because it doesn't fucking matter. But I'm watching, this roundtable on CNN, just this clip of Abby Phillips. I don't know if you know who she is. She does a pretty good job, I think, anchor on CNN. And I hadn't watched network news in a long time, specifically CNN in a long time. And I'm watching this clip, and they had 3 maggots, and they had 3 Democratic people on the other side. And every reference to anybody on the left was radical left lunatic. Every reference.
Yeah.
And I fucking couldn't believe it. Because I couldn't, because I thought, oh, here we go. That's the Larry Ellison effect. That's the Barry Weiss effect. That's the Netanyahu effect, which is allow people to breed hatred in a conversation, allow people to label hatred in a conversation,
Mhm.
which was never allowed before, because that's not common sense to me. And I have never subscribed to the left versus the right. I've never subscribed. Like, I think if you take that identity, if you take any political identity, any government identity, you take any ideological or religious identity, and you go, "This is who I am," I think you're the fucking worst person in the world. Always have. I think you're low rent. I don't think you can critically think. I think you're a fucking idiot. And so when I started to see that, I thought to myself, "Oh, it's fucking even infected CNN."
Mhm.
This idea that we have to continually castigate a certain group of people so that we can drive a result. And I was not just disappointed, I was apoplectic after watching that clip. I'm like, I can't fucking believe it. That between Trump, Netanyahu, Orban, Putin, they've managed to figure out a way to justify this kind of hateful bullshit, to be able to prop up what's going on in Israel, Russia, the United States as fucking normal discourse.
Mhm. And they take this control over it, right? So they allow any sort of violence and they allow any violent rhetoric to come up from them against the left, but they don't let the left come up with the same thing. So that creates a system where the people who are saying these things, who are being Nazis out there in the public, or
We're
talking about,
Antifa.
yeah, they are actually imprisoning themselves under this regime. They are giving up their minds because they're enjoying maybe the opportunity to voice their concerns. They're enjoying raging out in public. They're also at the same time imprisoning themselves into these regimes that are controlling every aspect of your life and what you hear and everything that you do, because they're surveilling every aspect of our society right now. And that's, that whole combination of things is terrifying, honestly, to be at a point where we're going to see this deep-seated hatred of Jewish people that has come from a long line of after a long line of this happening in history, of course.
But here, listen, that's the goal, right? That's why Trump is doing this to Americans. That's why Netanyahu is doing this to Israelis, is so you attack them.
Yep.
What happens when you attack them? They got camera crews with special fucking lights, ring lights around. They're like, "Oh, look, you're attacking us."
Mhm.
Anti-Semitic, anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-Christian. Something happened this week. Let's get into that real quick before we leave.
Yeah.
This is the age of perception. It's not the age of fact. It's not. We live in a post-truth society where they can spin a video and then go, "Oh, this is happening." So in Nigeria, Donald Trump put out this unhinged fucking video the other day from the White House. Have you seen it? I don't know if you have.
I didn't. I read about it. I didn't see the actual video.
Yeah. So the video is him going, "Nigeria, you're killing Christians. We're gonna visit a pain on you that you've never experienced before. We're coming in. We're gonna fuck you up." Da 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 da.
Right.
Because there was this report, this video, which is originally why he started that refugee program for South Africans, right?
Yeah.
About Christians, white Christians, not people, not human beings, specifically someone from a very specific ideology that he can play back to his base, going, "Look, we're going to protect Christians." He threatened to go to war and said that he plans on going to war with Nigeria.
Mhm.
This is after he said he plans on going to war with Venezuela. This is all predicated on a religious ideology. It's not predicated on fact or reason. It's predicated on a religious ideology. It's predicated on a video that has been, by and large, debunked as something that happened 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And they take that video, they go, "Okay, guess we got to go to war against Christians."
Yeah.
That is the same fucking shit that gets pumped into the minds and the hearts of Jewish people around the world. I have watched certain specific people in the media and entertainment space here in Canada
Mhm.
who happen to share, Jewish lineage, who were on financial death doors,
Mhm.
take that money and run and become these hateful pro-apologists for Netanyahu over the past year
Yeah.
to 2 years.
Yeah, it's very common.
You've seen the same thing.
Mhm.
I've seen the same thing. And that's the time we live in. We don't live in a time where you get affirmation about the information that you can go, "Oh, okay, well, this is accurate because I can fact check it." This is about curating an opinion at this
Mhm.
point. And the opinion they want to curate is that Christians, God-fearing Abrahamic people are under attack, And the reason why they're doing it is because they want to they want to attach themselves, they want to throw a hook on to an ideology and express outrage over things that aren't even fucking really true.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So they can do this.
And in the midst of all of this, you've got people like Mike Johnson and Steve Bannon saying this is the time to double down on everything we've been doing because of the election results the other day. And there's two clips from deanblundell.substack.com, which we should really play. The first one is from Stephen Bannon. Do you want to tell people what this is?
Yeah, listen, folks, MAGA full flop sweat at this point in time because the rest of us are caught on to the idea that this is all bullshit. The blue wave just literally wiped out anything Trump thought he would do, from Prop 50 to New Jersey to New York to Virginia to state boards in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, AGs, every school boards. It was not just an indictment, it was a wipeout. The flop sweat in MAGA right now is palpable. This is Steve Bannon at a conservative partnership awards banquet talking to the crowd, telling everybody, if we don't get our shit together, we're all going to jail. How's this for flop sweat?
And I will tell you right now, as God is my witness, if we lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to stop. They're getting more and more and more radical.
No.
And we have to counter that. And what do we have to counter it with? We have to counter it with more action, more intense action,
Oh, gosh.
more urgency. We're burning daylight. If you look across every aspect of this, we have to codify what President Trump has done by executive order, right? We have to codify it.
Because we might lose President Trump.
And people say, well, they're just going to be messing bills campaign. Senate. We got to,
we says the same thing.
Listen, put aside these structural barriers and get on with it. President Trump today gave to the Senate when they came over for breakfast. Even Lindsey Graham, some of the guys he liked, and some of these institutions, I understand. This is a very tough decision to make. And you're going to see some people in the conservative movement that not in a million years, because I talked to him today, quite frankly, I had Hawley on the show this morning, Josh Hawley, and he's talking about it. And I'm trying to play the institution. Well, they called me up this afternoon and said, let's go through the 10 reasons we need to do it. And these are heavy hitters on what I would call the constitutional, limited government constitutionalist in our movement. And they're about to come out over the next couple of days and make this argument because it said, look, we have to understand that if we don't take this to the maximum, a maximalist strategy now with a sense of urgency, and in doing this, seize the institutions. If we don't do that now, we're going to lose this chance forever because you're never going to have another Trump, right? You're just not going to have it.
Wow.
Which is Steve Bannon saying, we've got the idiot in a position. He's fucking it all up. And if we don't push him across the finish line, if we don't militarize against our people, we're fucked.
If we don't do this really quickly as well,
we're going to jail. Yeah. But that is
what
like,
are they gonna do?
Well, I'll tell you what they're going to do. Nothing. They're going to continue to do nothing. They're going to continue to lose. Donald Trump lost all week long. Mm. And not only is that flop sweat visible in proxies like Steve Bannon, how about his House Speaker, MAGA Mike Johnson?
Oh, boy.
Yesterday morning on the steps of the Capitol building, not just say, we're going to be fucked if we don't get it together. He said, we're all getting impeached. Mm-hmm. Watch this video.
President Trump is on the ballot next fall. Because if we lose the majority of the Republicans, the common sense people here who are doing the job for the American people, if we lose the majority in the House and this radical element of the Democrat Party were able to take over, we've already seen that movie. They will try to end the Trump administration. He won't have 4 years, he'll have only 2, because they will move to impeach him probably on the first day of the new Congress in January 2027. And they will try to systematically unwind all the important reforms that we've done for the American people.
Dude.
I don't know about you, but that sounds like an endorsement for the Democrats. I'm like all in for that. Vote for Democrats. They should just run that as the ad. They should just be the total ad that they do for the next elections. Yeah. Impeach the president. Vote for Democrats. It's exactly what's going to happen.
All you have to do is feed that into the psyche of good, willing men and women in the United States of America. Go, hey, that's all you got to do. They said it.
Yeah.
We'll put them away because we know these are consequences for being a traitorous pile of pieces of shit. So all you have to do is vote for us. That's it. So all you got to do. ICE raids end. SNAP benefits get reinstated. Social programs come back. Research comes back.
You can travel in
national
the
pride
air,
comes
for the
back.
air. Air travel's back.
Canadians will come back. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. It's all you have
Tariffs
to
will go
do.
away.
Yes.
All the things that you hated about ICE will stop doing these crazy things to citizens
You
in
got
America.
it.
I mean, it's the best campaign ever. I don't think there's ever been a campaign in the United States, which is about a midterm campaign, which is about impeaching the president, but they should seriously consider that one. That is the FiveStack today. DeanBlendell.substack.com is where a lot of these stories come from. Some others come from narrative.org, NARATIV.org. It's my site. You've got a great special running right now on Dean's Substacks. Tell everyone about that so they can sign up.
Yeah. Listen, 2 days ago, I need to just like lay prostate, in reference prostate, not prostrate. No, prostate's in my body.
Yeah.
Prostate is prostrate. In front of my Substack community. A couple of days ago, I was like, hey, I don't have any founding members. So maybe we should do something and give people lifetime subscription. So I thought I would love to get to 10. It would be lovely. So we hit 12 yesterday. And haven't looked today, but I need to thank every single person that is watching this and every single person that is subscribed, and let everybody know that we want this community to be unlimited for as long as possible. So we've got a lifetime subscription for a founding membership for like $150. I don't care. I just want you involved. I want you part of these conversations. We want to talk to you. We want you on Coffee and Tea with Lev. We want you to co-host shows with us. We want to take our questions and directions from you. And to do that, we need unlimited access. So we've got an annual membership, annual subscription that is, I believe, discounted at 25%. I think it's like $80 a year, $8 a month. And then, of course, lifetime membership, never pay again. You can lock in your annual. But more importantly, I'm just grateful for everybody for being here on a Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm grateful that everybody's hammered those hearts and shared this with people. You can give subscriptions to people. Listen, we're not just building a resistance. We're continuing to grow our community, our family. And I have never, ever been this professionally turned on, because the ultimate compliment in our business is to have people not just give you their time, but give you their hard-earned money, so that you can be part of their lives, so that you can inform them, so you can be their caddy, their Sherpa when it comes for information, affirmation about the things they believe in. I've said this before. One thing I know today about this community of not just, your 20,000+ and my 30,000+ and, all these different people that have kindly put their faith in us, is that I now have my faith in you. You own me. And I do this for you. I do this with you, as does Lev. So DeanBlendell.substack.com. Zev, sorry. Is DeanBlendell.substack.com. Subscribe, share, free, paid, doesn't matter. Just so grateful you're part of my community. And the one thing I will tell you, everybody, is that I watched this man, Zev Shalev, today with Tara Palmieri, who's venerable when it comes to the Epstein files. And this education process of how you guys started to have a conversation, not just about your Greatest Heist series, which everybody should go enjoy, but the conversation you had with her today was absolutely brilliant. There is no one doing more work when it comes to context and intention to help you understand what's behind the Epstein files, what is behind Trump's goal, what is behind what we've talked about every day for the past several months. Then my friend Zev Shalev, narrative.org. Tell us what they're going to get today. Tell us what you've got there as well.
Well, I'm so focused on the Greatest Heist, and I'm busy writing into it. I'm in my cave a lot of the time doing that. But this is an important story, and what we're seeing, what we mentioned earlier on about the FBI Epstein files coming out and what's in them, is a large part what I've been covering in the Greatest Heist for 6 years now. I've been pounding at this idea that it's not really about the human trafficking. That's just the cover story. The real story was the financial crimes that Jeffrey Epstein undertook. And it's been a long saga for me to write all this stuff, and to learn about all this stuff and to come up with the conclusions I have. But in the Greatest Heist, we're putting it all together. And the new series, which started yesterday but continues when the first part comes out next week, is just about the 2008 crash as a microcosm. And you can look at that crash, which led to the Great Recession, very similar to the circumstances we're now experiencing in the United States. And you can see from that this was a crime started by Jeffrey Epstein, and also involving the people at JP Morgan and the people in the Treasury, including the people in the Obama Treasury Department as well. I mean, this was a large-scale operation to control how the economy behaved. but ultimately to steal the American dreams of so many Americans, and instead just pay out the big bankers and the big billionaires so they could become richer while Americans became poorer. And that's the financial crime at the heart of this. It's really a massive crime against every single American. And that's the true Jeffrey Epstein story, which we'll be revealing through The Greatest Heist in the next few weeks.
Look forward to it, everybody. Follow my friend Zev Shalev, narrative.org. Follow myself. Thank you very much for being part of the show today. Have a fucking incredible weekend. Like, just an awesome weekend.
Yeah.
No matter where you are, Canada, United States, Northern Ireland, England, Botswana. If you're in Russia, I've got 3 subscribers from Russia.
You do?
Try to have a good weekend. Oh, yeah. I just found that out.
I didn't know we were allowed there.
Yeah, well, we're not, but somehow we figured a way to get our spike of information in there. But have a great weekend and go forward in confidence. Go forward in humanity. Love each other this weekend and stick up for each other this weekend. It's never been more important. Thanks for watching the FiveStack. My name is Dean. That is Zev. We will see you guys on Monday unless something crazy happens on the weekend. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. Thanks.
Cheers, everyone.